Yes, yes, yes. What's up, world? This is your man Precise. We're rolling out here for a conversation with. Today, we are here with Miss Barbara Bates. Barbara Bates is a Chicago-based fashion designer known worldwide. She's dressed everyone from Oprah Winfrey to Michael Jordan to Whitney Houston. She's been a fixture in Chicago culture for over 30 years and gives back through her Barbara Bates Foundation. Her style represents originality and creativity. We welcome her to Rolling Out today to talk about her business, her foundation, and what she's been doing as we entered into the grips of this pandemic. Barbara Bates, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us on Rolling Out.
I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yes, this is really an exciting moment for me. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so thank you for this opportunity.
Did you come here to buy anything? Did you come here and shop?
Not just yet, but I will. I didn't know if there was anything there for me. The last time I even
we do custom clothes also, so I got you.
You have a lot of menswear. Can I get something tailor made, or how's that go?
You can do that.
Awesome. So we're gonna work that out then.
We are.
So, but as we talk about that, can you give a little history about your business and how you even got started in design?
Okay, so I always loved fashion. I mean, even as a little girl playing with like dolls, I used to love the clothes that the dolls had more than the dolls, and so I always knew that fashion was something that I was supposed to be doing. I guess you could say that it was, pretty much innate. In high school, I won like the best dressed senior. I designed my own, dress for our schools. It's called the Sharpie dance. And then after I graduated from high school, then I started, doing secretarial work, but I never really wanted to be a 9-to-5 worker. I always wanted to do something that was involved in fashion, and started working in corporate America, wearing my own clothes to work. The girls would stop by my desk, say, "Wow, we love what you're wearing. Where'd you get it?" And I would say, "Oh, I designed it." And they say, "Could you design one for me?" And I'll say, "Meet me in the bathroom." And on the 15th and the 31st, I held court in the bathroom. And I think it started at First Chicago Bank, which is now Chase.
Okay.
That's
wow. Wow. So was this downtown you were doing this?
Yeah, downtown. Chase was at, First National Bank was actually on Dearborn and Madison at the time.
Okay.
Of course, the 15th and the 31st, those are paydays in corporate America.
Right.
And that's when I wanted to see them on payday.
So you were doing original designs then for those individuals around that time?
I was. And so then when I first started, I started working with leather and suede. Those are the first fabrics I started with, because I was a shopaholic, and I would buy, and I would wonder, why does leather cost so much? Why does suede cost so much? And it could have been at the time it was the designers that I was buying, because I've always just been in awe of like amazing designer clothing. And I just thought I would love to, be able to do something similar, but maybe not have it cost as much. And of course, once I started doing what I was doing, I knew why it cost so much, because I had a novelty product and it was being made, in America, where the costs were high, the material costs were high, and the labor costs were high. But I was doing original garments out of, unique novelty fabrics.
Okay, that's awesome. So now, as you've been in business, like, what has been one of the most challenging parts of even running your business at this point? I mean, you've been around for a length of time, but what's been the biggest challenge?
Probably finding skilled laborers, people that really know the business, pattern makers and seamstresses and tailors. It's a dying breed. When my business first started, I think like maybe 99.9% of the people that worked for me, they were Polish Americans, and they had come from the old country, and their skills were amazing. And I had tried working with other people in the African American community, some 34 years ago, but either they were doing their own thing or the skill just wasn't there. And so it just took some time. And as time has evolved, now there's a load of African American designers and sewers and seamstresses that do amazing work. But in 1986, it was really hard to come by.
So now, okay, so fast forwarding now, we're in the grips of a pandemic. Everybody's business model is changing. It's attacked everyone. What kind of adjustments have you made to your business at this point?
I guess the biggest adjustment that I've made is that I'm not, doing clothing right now. I'm actually doing facial masks and protective facial masks. And ours are not just a pretty face, even though, the workmanship on them is good. They have a filter in them that's one of the highest filters that there is. And it has a rating that's a 16. And so the fabric on the front is a cotton, but the rating the filter is really what makes it important. There's a lot of
Mhm.
people that make beautiful facial masks, but at the end of the day, you do want some like real protection against the virus because we don't know, if it's airborne. We hear things we really don't know, but you want to protect yourself with more than just 5 layers of fabric on your face. And we're going to hear about somebody falling out over all these different layers because people think
Mhm.
if you layer up the fabric, then that's going to keep virus or germs from coming in, but that's not the truth.
Touch on that a little bit more because I saw a video yesterday that made me laugh, but it's not funny. So there was a gentleman, he had a hospital issued mask that he put on his face, and then his friend had one of those fancy masks with the pretty picture on the front of it. And so he took a lighter and put it in front of the hospital mask, and he couldn't blow it out, right? So he gave it a lighter to his friend who put it in front of his pretty mask, and he blew into it and it went out right away.
Exactly. So another thing you could do with your mask, you could take your mask, you could run it underwater, and if the water goes straight through, then you know that you don't need to be wearing that mask. Or the pretty masks could be used as coverings. You don't have to throw them away. A lot of people are making masks and they're donating them, and that's their goodwill, and they're doing something great, but they don't really understand the ramifications of not having a proper filter on your mask. So if you take your mask and you run it underneath water and the water goes through, then you know that it's not effective at all. And so what you want is a filter underneath it. And the filter, like people wear the surgical mask, and a surgical mask has to have a rating of at least 13. A MERV rating, and MERV, MERV, it's the minimum efficiency required value. And it just means if it's going into a hospital that it has to have that rating of a 13 or above. And I had a really good friend who's very resourceful, and she resourced for me, and she found, initially I started working with the MERV 13, which is like a surgical mask, but now I have the MERV 16, which is the same filter and rating as an N95, but it's paperweight. It's a thinner weight, so we can put it into a fabric mask. And so when people are, wearing these beautiful, masks, they need to have a surgical mask underneath it, or they need to purchase a mask that has a filter in it that's a high filter.
Definitely. I mean, that's awesome. And one of the great things that you're doing, which is really a testament to the great work you've been doing in the city for such a long time, is that you've been taking these masks that you're creating on your own dime and donating them to Chicago police officers. Why was that important for you to do?
So initially, when all of this really came about, which was I guess around like the first week in March or whatever, I had a friend who mentioned to me that this is like a natural for you. They had told us we needed to go home and sit down. So I was at home, and he says, "I think it's a natural for you. You should do the mask." And I heard him, but I really didn't hear him. It's like, I'm not spending my time making a mask. That's really not what I do. And I, mulled over, but then the news became like really striking. And every morning it became more terrifying of like where we are in life. And of course, the first people that we heard about were the nurses and the doctors at the hospital, the first responders that had to deal with all of this, and how we were running so short of everything, and how we always run to China for everything because we can get a low price, but we couldn't run to China because they were in the midst of their breakout. And so I thought that another friend came back to me and he started saying, I really think that you could do this and blah, blah, blah. And just, I think with the second person, it really resonated with me, and it was time then. It was time for me to do it. So I just took a paper mask that I saw, and I copied the pattern of it. And I asked some of my employees and some friends if they would come in and if we could make the mask, if they would. I had no money. I asked them if they could, work for free for the week, and we could make up masks for 2 hospitals. I picked Sinai on the west side, and I picked Jackson Park. Then we made the masks up. On the first day, we had 5. I don't know, you're thinking 500? No, 5 masks, because it had to be right. I had to figure out how you do this. And I had like 6 people in there, and I was just thinking to myself, this is not going to work. And I had already told the hospitals, I'm going to deliver blah, blah, blah to you, because I thought I could do it, but it was difficult to me because I'm so used to doing something so totally different. And
Right.
And so the next day got better, and we produced the mask. And Jackson Park Hospital actually called me back and asked me, "Well, we don't think we're going to take your masks. What are they made out of?" I said, "Well, they got a cotton front and a cotton back." And they're like, "Well, no, it's because it should have blah 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 blah." And I felt some kind of way because this was a gift I was giving them. If they were like, "Keep your gift, and we're just going to go ahead and work with the little bit that we've got." Sinai.
Right.
other hand, was like really welcome to it. And when I heard that, when Jackson Park said they wouldn't, I still thought there's something that this mask could do. So for me, it was when I went to Sinai, I was like, well, these are, you're going to get extra masks, and the masks don't have any special filter that I understand you guys are supposed to have, but you could use it and put it over the mask that you're trying to save, because they were trying to save their masks because they were in such short supply. So I said, use it as a mask covering over what you already have. But after that first week, that prompted me to really find out, what is this filter? How do you get it? How could I incorporate it in something? And how could I, go back and say, nah to the people at Jackson Park, like, look, I'm going to make this work for you, but thanks for pushing me, because they propelled me to get the information. So another friend of mine was very resourceful. She found the information, and she's an ex-police officer. And her thing was, Barbara, you should make, I know you were taking things to the hospital, and that's great, but also police and, their first responders also, and me being an officer, why don't you run this through your foundation? Why don't you put it out there? People will help you and make masks for the police department. So none of it was me just sitting home thinking, oh, what's the next philanthropic endeavor that I'm going to take on? It was brought on by somebody else saying, hey, we need it. You can make it happen. Let's pool our resources together. So with that, when she said that, then I said, okay, so we raised money. We put up a GoFundMe. We raised money on the foundation. And the first batch of filter that I got, she paid for on her credit card, and she sent it to me. And I started reaching out to friends and acquaintances, people I've met over my past, 34 years. My relationships are really what have got me to make this project, what it is. It's not on my own. It's all been through the help of other people. I could not have done it on my own. And the next round of people, I couldn't ask them to work for free unless I wanted to, get a beat down. And so
right.
we used the money from the foundation to pay for everything, to pay for the newer fabrics, to pay for, more filter, and that kept us going. And then by that time, when we started giving away things to the officers, we started getting press, and then we started getting press. People started calling saying, hey, do you make the mask? And then I was able to use my own business. Once I depleted funds from my foundation, then I was able to use my business to keep it going, because I was charging people for the mask. We were charging like $7 for a mask, or $20 for a novelty, the pretty face mask, but it still had a filter. And so it was really important to me that people would come and support me, support what I was doing, because now I was starting to feel some kind of way about buying things overseas, not just the fact China that the illness came from there, but the fact that we've been so dependent on China, and that machinery had taken away labor from us, and then another country took away labor from us. And I saw all these small businesses stepping up, feeding people, sending lunches, making masks at home, small businesses really stepping up, but being the last ones to get the money when it came out. And I just started thinking that it's time for us to bring business back into our own backyard. And
awesome. And that makes a lot of sense. And, when we talk about bringing that business back to our backyard, can you talk about what is the benefit of bringing that business back here for the people of the United States? I mean, what's the advantage of that?
The benefit is that we get to build our communities, and we get to build our country back up again. The jackass said, make America great again. That's how we do it. We do it by spending money with each other, keeping the money in our community. Many years ago in Bronzeville, they said the money stayed in the community that is circulated 8 times. We need to start doing that again. We need to start doing more fellowship with our dollars and spending money with each other and keeping the money flowing. And people who are maybe not skilled laborers, they have a chance to work, because a lot of what we do is not, all of it is not really high skill. Machinery has taken it away, but our small laborers can come in and they can do handwork, and we can just keep people employed, and we can possibly keep some young people off the streets.
Definitely. I mean, one other thing that you spoke to that resonated with me was the idea of the relationships you have and leveraging that. What's the importance of being able to go to someone and leveraging that relationship? Why is that important for things like your foundation and your business?
I mean, there's no earthly words to say why it has importance. It's just that when you're doing things in life, you always want to do things for the right reason. And I like to believe, not that I'm a saint, or godly, or can even quote scriptures. But the relationships that I've had over the year, I've maintained them. I may not always call people all the time, but they've always been good relationships. There's no bad blood behind them. And it's a blessing to be able to go and call somebody when you don't have it yourself. And it's a blessing to be able to just to put out there what you need. And that's why I'm really sort of like, transparent about things that I need, because you never know where your help is going to come from. And when you put it out there, people, they'll come and they'll help you. People that you just least expect to help in a situation. And that's kind of where I am now. I have people that are helping me that I've met in the past, but I never thought, had I died and come back 1,000 times, that they would be helping me in this particular situation that we're in at this particular time.
Well, you're doing an amazing work for the community, definitely when it comes to the mask, and really from all of the research and everything that it took to do that shows that you really care for us, and thank you for that. Along those same lines, I would like for you to touch on the Barbara Bates Foundation, what prompted that, and the type of work that you're doing from the foundation.
So the foundation actually started, it was founded in 1999 is when it was officially formed. But early on in my career, I had some newspaper publish some articles, I think when I was doing stuff for like Jordan, and a young lady called my shop and said, I speak to Barbara Bates. I just want to say I'm so proud of you. I saw the articles that you did, but I went to school with you many years ago. Are you the same Barbara Bates that had a baby in high school? And I was like, whoa, hold them up there, lady. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's what's behind me. And she says, no, I just want to say that I remember you. I remember you from that school if you're the same person. I said, well, yeah, actually I am. I had a child when I was in high school. I left my high school and I went to an alternative school. She said, well, I went to that same alternative school. She said, but now I work with young girls who are going to become moms. And I want to know, would you come out and would you speak to them? And I actually reluctantly went because I really didn't know what I was going to say. What do you say about being a teen mom? It's what's great in that. I didn't see that at the time. But when I went back over to the West Side to speak to the young girls, I went in a room and there were probably about, 20 young girls from age 11 to 15. They were all young girls, who were pregnant. And I just really relived and told my story of how I grew up on the West Side where I went to school. And I just kind of like told my story and it resonated with them. And before I left that day in a teary-eyed room, I felt there was something I needed to do for them because I wanted them to know that I was the same as them, that we're the same, that I wasn't better because I was working with celebrities, but I came from the same place they came from. Mm-hmm. And I said, whoever goes back to school, if you graduate, I'll make your prom dress. And so that was the beginning of this, of an eternity of making prom dresses. Over the past, 30 years. After I did it that day, I got calls from CPS. They heard about this speaker who was so dynamic, who came from CPS schools, wanted to know, would she go and speak? And so I started, doing that. I started going to schools and just, telling my story, not knowing that it was going to inspire somebody else. And to date, we probably have made like over 500 prom dresses and like 200 suits for inner city kids. Wow. And after probably like the first year that I did that, someone heard about it, an executive at Kraft, and she sent a letter with a $1,500 check. And she said, I really applaud what you're doing. But instead of always doing the dresses for the girls who are teen moms, and I understand that, would you make dresses for girls who are full figured? And here's a check for $1,500. Please make sure that money goes to some girls who aren't the small little shapely girls, because I had trouble with that. And so that's when I decided I would start the foundation. Once again, I reached out to my friends. They helped me with donations and we started making prom dresses. Now, this year was the first year, it was before COVID came, because prom kids and COVID are kind of almost on the same string, dangerous. Mm-hmm. Prom kids, I decided I had done my fill with that. So I didn't accept prom kids this year. I took maybe just a couple of situations, but I just figured hey, Chicago, I've done my time with the prom kids and let somebody else handle them. And so I left that alone. So that was the basis of my foundation, was helping young adults. And then in 2009, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And after I finished that battle, then I started raising money for Sinai Hospital for a breast imaging center. Mm-hmm. And education on breast cancer. And I did that through my fashion, through having fashion shows, through having breast cancer walks. We stood on corners and collected money, and we raised over $600,000 for Sinai. And at the end of June, we'll have the opening of the Barbara Bates Women's Breast Imaging Center at Sinai. So I'm really excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All of that work is paid off. That's such an amazing work that you're doing, Barbara Bates. I mean,
I didn't do it by myself, though. I didn't do it by myself. My name is on it, but I didn't do it by myself.
Of course not. I mean, anything that is going to have any type of impact is going to take the team
Village.
effort always.
Village.
It definitely takes a village. Even with that, how have you maintained such a solid team throughout all of this?
People change, people grow. They go and they do their own thing. But I like to stay in touch with, like the new younger generation that's coming up that's interested in fashion. Maybe those that aren't interested in fashion but are interested in clerical or just wanting to do something positive. So I like to keep my finger on the pulse of those kind of young people. And then there are just people in the community, friends I've had for like decades that reach out when they see that I'm in need. They reach out.
So, just to kind of double back a little bit about the fashion, what type of fashion trends are you in tune with right now?
So for me, I'm not really one that goes for trend because I do so much of this and so much of that, so many like novelty things. And then I get like real flustered by the fact that, trend, I can't have somebody in Paris telling me what I should be wearing over here in Chicago and what color is great. And so I let fabrics dictate that. When I go fabric shop, then the fabric speaks. I have an idea of what it's going to be, and I buy fabric, and then I come back and then I create whatever it's going to be. And so for me, easy clothes. As I've gotten older, my style has definitely changed from when I was in my 30s when I first started. And so my style has changed, and most of the people that I design for, their style has changed as well. Although I have clients that range, from the lower end to the higher end in terms of their age. But easy pants or something, wonderful prints are really great. But I like to work with beautiful fabrics, and my favorite thing to work with is leather.
Ah, beautiful. I mean, I've seen some of your designs and they are always superb.
Thank you.
Now, you were self-taught though, right?
Um, Actually, I'm self-taught just in terms of design and fabric. I don't sew. I never learned how to sew. I always had to depend on tailors to put together what it is that I started.
Wait a minute. You do not sew?
No, I do not sew at all.
You've been able to do this for these, but it's all about your ideas and what these designs are, right? I mean, that's amazing.
The two go together. You really have to have you have to have a good tailor, a good seamstress that will take your ideas and translate them. So early on, that was difficult to do because my staff was Polish and we had a language barrier and definitely a style barrier. And even people today that sew, they may be great seamstresses, but they may not have impeccable taste or style when it comes to fabrics, what the fabric should be, what it can be. And that's what I think lose out on. Fabrics, fabrics have like body, and you have to know like what that body can do, and that just takes time of working with them. So even though I'm not physically sewing, my talent, I think, is that I know what the fabric can do. I know where fabric should be. I know what shelves to put them on when they're going onto the body.
What is it about leather that draws you to that?
I think I like leather because it's a skin. Leather is a skin, and back in the day, it was something that was heavier, so it didn't really breathe as much because they didn't shave it as small. But it was always, it always had like breathability to it. But the fact that today it's as light as fabric, and you can paint on leather, and I like that leather can do the same thing as fabric, but people think that it's such a an off the side novelty piece. I like to take leather and do whatever you can do with fabric. I want to show you that you can do the same thing with leather.
So now we've talked about your work, what you've been doing with your foundation. Right now, I don't know if you've witnessed The Last Dance, the story of the Chicago Bulls, and all that.
I have.
So you mentioned that you designed for Michael Jordan. Do you have any Michael Jordan stories you can share with us?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of okay, there is one. So the very first story was probably not with me personally, but Michael was coming out of I guess like when they're playing a game, the girls standing in the background hollering and screaming trying to get autographs. So my sister happened to be one of those girls, and she caught his eye, and she gave him my business card, and she says, here's my sister's business card. She works with leather and she's a great designer. He said, well, could she make me some gloves? And she said, of course she can, so call her. And she came back and told me, I met Michael Jordan. He wants you to make him a pair of gloves. And I was like, that's a negative. I'm not making a pair of gloves for anybody. And I'm not into sports, and I never was into sports. So it really didn't excite me at the time.
Right.
And I actually ended up meeting him probably like a month later. Sam Perkins, who was a college, played with him in college, had played for Dallas at the time. He came get something made and said, hey, I'm going to, there's a party that Michael's having tonight. So, I want to take you and your sister. So we met, and then I actually met him face to face there. And he had my card and he knew who I was. And then he showed up at my house like the next week. But one of the really cool stories is that I had done some leather and suede for him, because some of the stuff was being shown in the documentary. I'm like looking like, that's my piece. That's my piece.
Oh, wow.
And he was on his way to a game, and he called me, like, he says, I'm on my way to a game right now. I just want you to know. And he had just bought this, it was a sports car, so I think it was a Corvette. And he said, I'm on my way to the game, and I got in the car, and my pants split all the way up the back. And I said, hey, that's the beauty of a Bates, that.
Wow.
It's got to have like something. I'm like, hey, all that happened because you bent down that little tiny car. I mean, I couldn't let it be me, but he had to go to the game with his ass hanging out. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, now, so you're doing all of this, amazing stories to share. What's next for Barbara Bates? What's next for you?
This is a strange time right now. I mean, I thought that I would like be at home with everybody else, gaining some weight and catching up on Netflix. But I had the blood of the lamb on my door, and the disease just kind of passed me up, and nothing has stopped here. And as a matter of fact, the mask thing, I'm still like figuring out ways to perfect it. I don't know how long I'm going to be a part of it. I would love to go back to fashion. As a matter of fact, I know that I'm going to go back to fashion because before all this happened, I was in New York when it actually broke bad, and I had bought a lot of beautiful fabric. So I can't wait to get to it. But right now, I'm in the midst of this. I still have more commitments to make. I promised 13,000 masks at a police department. And in between that, other things have come up. Today, we're shipping out 500 masks to Cook County prisoners. So something's always coming up. When people need, if I can, then I say yes. But I still like for people to come and support my small business too. So what's next? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I have things on the back burner, and we'll just see how it pans out. Planning can almost be a scary thing. You plan something. So you really can't, planning life is hard. You got to just, you just got to go ahead and live the life that's been, set out for you.
That's right. So where can people get these masks from? Can they order them from you?
Yeah, so they actually, okay, so that's a scary one. And everybody's like looking at me now with their eyes all squinched up saying, that B better not give out the phone number or the address. Right now, we're in the midst of doing larger orders, but on Saturdays, we do hey, I want 2 masks. Hey, I want 4 masks. On Saturdays from 11 to 2, people can come here and they can purchase small orders. And then if people want to purchase larger orders, then they would call my studio and purchase larger orders for, their businesses, whatever organizations they work with, if they want to have them made for their organization. So that's kind of.
So what about, have you developed partnership with other hospitals in the inner city like St. Bernard? And
I have not. I have not developed partnerships. And actually, the partnership that I did with Sinai is probably the only one, and I'm still in bed with Sinai, so to speak. And I don't want to spread myself thin. I mean, I don't want to make it around to every other hospital, because I'm on the downside of life. I got more behind me than I got in front of me, and so. I want to cool it down just a little bit. I have some sons, and hopefully they'll want to, play around with this and come in and do something. I got some grandkids. And so I'm hoping that somebody in the family is going to step in and say, okay, I can handle it from here. You can take off a few days. So
with that being said, what is the legacy of Barbara Bates? What do you want that to be?
I mean, that's a really hard question. That's like asking me to write my obit,
I didn't ask that.
I know a lot of people do that. They're still alive, but I mean, of course, all I would do is just be patting myself on the back. I want it to be nothing but great stuff. So if somebody had to write it and throw something else in, I wouldn't know. All I could say is that I would want it to be a positive one. She was she was, I won't say I was a saint, but, she was okay. She was really good. She was down to earth. She gave when she could. She gave with fault. She gave people a chance. A lot of people, when they meet me now, they say that, because in fashion, people think that you're supposed to be this one way. And, when they meet me, they're looking for something else other than what they get. And this is the only way that I, know how to be. Is regular.
You say regular, definitely.
Right.
And that's a good thing. Ms. Barbara Bates, thank you so much for taking out this time to speak with us here with Rolling Out.
It's
Our
been a
viewers, definitely, our viewers appreciate you. Did you want to share your social media sites or have somebody share those for you, just so they can catch up with you?
Social media site, my Instagram is Barbara_Bates. And then with Facebook, does that have a name in it? Just Barbara Bates is
Barbara
Facebook.
Bates, they'll find you. You famous. People can find you. So, yeah.
I don't have any other stuff, and I don't talk to people on those. So if you sent me something and there's a message, and then I see you on the street and you say I'm your friend, I sent you a message, you didn't respond. That's because I'm at work all the time, and I got if somebody's got to say something to me, they'll normally call me at work because I don't really respond to social media a whole lot, just because I don't understand. I'm not on it all the time. I don't understand it as well as I should.
Understood. And also for people who are on this, are viewing this right now, make sure that you like the Rolling Out page, and you can follow me on Instagram at precise_CHI. Again, Barbara Bates, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Peace.